Okay, so recently we were given a task at our university. We were given a video named Squash, which has two players playing squash, one wearing a red t-shirt and one wearing a white t-shirt. And the task was to write a code which would follow one of those two players throughout the video. Now here's the finished product. My object of interest was the red player, and as you can see, the code is doing a pretty good job following that player. And you can see that because there's a yellow circle inserted over the red player. The code is not perfect, of course, it could use some improvements, but for what I needed, it works okay. Okay, so now I'll explain to you guys a bit how the code works. Um, First, what the code does is it takes the first frame of the video, and as you can see, we mark a part of that red player. Um, in particular, we marked a part of his red shirt. The pixels that are in this selection are then saved to a 3D matrix called a player, and this matrix consists of RGB values of the pixels that were selected. This matrix will also stay the same throughout the whole video because we will be using it in calculations when searching for the player. Now just imagine that the frame is represented like this, and the red player is this blue square in the middle of the screen. The red shirt that we have marked is this red square, and because we have already found the player on the first frame, because we had to manually mark a part of the player, the code inserts a yellow circle right away indicating that this is our player. But for all the frames that follow, the code has to find the player by itself. And let's say that this is the frame number 2, where the player has moved downwards a bit, and the code says that we're going left 10 pixels from the left upper corner of the selection that we have made on the previous frame, and up 10 pixels. And it also says that we are going to be searching for the player in an area which is this yellow or orange square, which is the same width as our selection on the first frame was, plus 20 pixels, and the same height as our red selection was on the first frame, plus 20 pixels. So we get this area in which we are searching for the player. Now we are searching for the player in this area by taking sections of the frame out of this yellow square. The section is this red square in the left upper corner, and this section has to be the same size as our player selection in the beginning of this video. Now we are moving this section throughout the whole yellow square like so until we reach the last part of the yellow square. And for each move that we have made, for each section that we have taken, we calculate the difference between current R section, G section, and B section, and R player, G player, and B player matrices. And that's why the section has to be the same size as the player matrix, because if they weren't the same, we couldn't form a difference between these two matrices. What we get is RGB difference matrices, which we sum together. We sum together all the elements of these three matrices, so that we only get only one number named distance sum. And remember, there's going to be as many distance sum numbers as many sections that we have taken out of the yellow window. Because for each section that we take, a new distance sum will be calculated. Then a part of the code will check where the smallest distance sum is, because normally wherever the section will be the most similar to the player matrix, the difference between these two matrices will be the smallest. So wherever the distance sum is the smallest, uh, the code saves those coordinates of the frame and it inserts a shape there, because that's where the player should be, and if the code was working fine, then the yellow circle should always appear on the player or any object of interest that you might select. Now, this process is basically repeated throughout all the frames, and at the end, when we repeat this for all the frames, the the frames with circles that the code has inserted is written into a new video, and that's the video that I have shown you at the beginning. And that's the video right here, where we have the yellow circle following our player. Okay, so if you guys would like to see this code, I can also post a download link. So if you'd like me to do that, just comment down below and I'll try to do it as fast as I can.